SEC temporarily halts approvals of new Chinese IPOs. The SEC is specifically concerned about Chinese companies that are structured as so-called variable interest entities. Although they're based in China, these companies are set up as an offshore shell company, often in a tax-friendly place like the Cayman Island. My name is Tom Nash, and I quit my corporate job as a senior financial analyst to break down companies for you. But there's one thing you need to know about me: I don't take bullshit from anybody. Hey, this is Tom, and we have some breaking news about Chinese stock you absolutely gotta hear. This is seismic, cataclysmic level event that you absolutely do not want to miss. Now, for the past few weeks, I've been talking about Chinese stock, and I've basically been telling you, hey, this is getting a little bit dicey. I'm not even talking about the fact that that made a dude disappear, a billionaire, because they didn't like what he said in some interview. Not even talking about the fact that they canceled the biggest planned IPO in Asia, which was Ant. I'm just talking about the stuff they just did this week. Now, the bottom line here is, as always in my videos, comes first. The SEC has essentially halted, froze, whatever you want to call it, stopped all Chinese IPOs until further notice. This is a huge deal. Basically, the SEC just said, hey, we want to figure out what the hell is going on here before we let any more Chinese companies IPO in the US. Now, that's the bottom line, but I'm going to tell you the whole story, and it's going to make you fall off your seat. So don't click nothing, don't smash nothing, don't buy nothing, don't subscribe to nothing, no courses, no affiliate links, no sponsorships, just your attention. So what the hell is going on here? So we're not even going to go back to the point where they made a billionaire disappear, take a little vacation for a couple of weeks because he said something they didn't like. We're not going to go back to them canceling the Ant IPO, which was the biggest IPO in Asia ever, essentially for no reason. We're not going to talk about the fine on Alibaba. None of that. That's old news. Just compared to what they did last week, that's just already old news. Just last week, they canceled Didi retroactively after the IPO, costing people billions of dollars. But Didi was just one victim here. There were other companies. Tencent basically got shellacked. And in case you think I'm bullshitting you, this is from July 24th. China orders Tencent to give up exclusive music licensing rights as crackdown continues. They just went after Tencent, basically taking away, actually nationalizing IP rights for music. Now they're saying that Tencent is providing opium for the masses. Stock goes down 10% just because some governmental agency put out government-sponsored articles essentially sending the stock price 10% down. And that's just one example of the irrational, crazy, erratic behavior of the Chinese regulators. This is insane. And it's not even the end of the story. I told you in my last few videos that even if you overcome the regulatory issues, and you might say, well, the Chinese government supports these types of companies, it doesn't support these types of companies, so I'm going to invest in the companies they like. Yeah, today. But what happens tomorrow or in a year? You can't run an investment policy based on what the Chinese government likes or doesn't like. But that's not even the end of it. Tencent basically was made to give back the royalty music they have. They canceled education companies, like a lot of crazy shit you don't expect from a proper country with proper due procedure. Now, this was insane. Essentially, this was like looking at my kid throwing a tantrum, throwing shit against the wall. Makes no sense. It doesn't even mean anything. What the hell is going on? So once we saw that, that should have been enough for you. Now, I've been beating the drum about Chinese stocks for a while, for months. And I've told you, this isn't about China, this isn't about Chinese people, nor about the Chinese culture, which I absolutely love. It's about the fact that even if this thing was going on in Greenland or Finland or Uzbekistan or Russia, I would have told you the same thing. Don't invest where the volatility is going crazy. It's just not a good investment risk management wise, especially in an irrational place like China where everything is not even economical. It's some weird ass mind control game that they're playing against themselves. Now, the things have changed. Now check this out. This is a Wall Street Journal article. SEC to set new disclosure requirements for Chinese companies' IPOs. Now this is really important. The Securities and Exchange Commission will increase scrutiny of Chinese companies that aim to sell shares in the US following new Chinese restrictions. Now this is really important. This came out on July 30th. It's really important. This is a reaction to what's going on in China. Essentially, Gary Gensler basically saying, well, motherfuckers, I'm not going to let you go crazy. If you're going to be behaving like that, we're going to limit you on the US side. A very nice reaction. And as you can see right here, SEC Chairman Gary Gensler said Friday he has asked agency staff to seek specific disclosures from Chinese firms before signing off on regulatory filings that precede initial public offering. Basically, he's saying, hey, we're not going to let you go public unless we know what the hell is going on in China. You better get your act together. Now, this is really important because this means a lot. The disclosure requirement outlined Friday builds on guidance the SEC issued last year on risks associated with China-based companies. They focus on the structure, the VIE, variable interest entities. Essentially, that's the Cayman Island bullshit structure I've been talking to you about. This is basically a confirmation to what I said, that this structure is insanely dangerous. The whole idea in my last few videos was to explain to you that the legal structure of Chinese companies being IPO'd in the US is just bananas. It makes no sense. You as the shareholder own a contractual right to a contractual right to a contractual right to a contractual right to a contractual right, 15 lines down, more 15 contractual rights to the actual company that holds the assets. Now, in this situation, you literally have no property rights in the company you think you're holding shares of. You're holding some phantom shares of nothing. And you literally have no recourse if you get screwed, because the only company that owes anything to you is that Cayman Island company that by the time that this thing hits the fan, it's going to be basically empty of anything. So you're going to be holding your shenanigan in your hands, basically crying for the sky, which is very similar to what's going on right now. And in case you've been wondering, this is what it looks like in real life. You as the investor in the New York Stock Exchange or the NASDAQ are getting shares in this company. This is a Cayman Islands company. It owns another Hong Kong company, which owns another Chinese company, which owns another Chinese company, which owns another Chinese company, which actually owns the assets you think you own. You don't own jack shit. You have contractual rights that go through 5 different companies until you get to the actual assets you think you own. And that's bullshit. The entities, which are often based in offshore jurisdictions, such as ding ding ding, the Cayman Islands, allow US investors to gain exposure to Chinese companies through contracts. Now, this is really important. Contractual rights are not the same as property rights. Any lawyer, and by the way, if there's any lawyers watching this, please comment below and let people know that I know what I'm talking about. Contracts and property rights are completely different and should be priced differently. And yet you have contractual rights being sold to people which are willing to pay the same price as if they're buying a property, which they're not. And Gary Gensler understands this, and kudos to him. He gets a lot of respect from me for getting this right. I worry that the average investor may not realize that they hold the stock in a shell company rather than a China-based operating company, Mr. Gensler said in the statement. Yes, finally, an SEC chair that gets it. And by the way, the funny thing is all of this is listed in the prospectus. There's an example here from the Alibaba prospectus where they literally come out and say, hey, dear investors, if you invest with us, you should know that this thing might be canceled by the Chinese government if they decide we're violating any existing or future laws. And by the way, that in itself is kind of insane. This is essentially a retroactive application of future laws on past behavior, which is insane. Only in China, I guess. So the Chinese government have been going crazy. Regulators have been going crazy, basically doing whatever the hell they want. Now, the SEC, I will give you that. They like to move slow. But now that they up from their seat, they're about to go bananas on these guys. For all China-based operating companies seeking to list in the US exchanges, the SEC will require them to say whether they have received permission from the Chinese authority to do so, as well as to disclose the risk that permission might be rescinded, Mr. Gensler said. Well, that's just the first move. I see this as way bigger than this. This is just the opening fire. And by the way, the case of Didi, which they mentioned here, is the perfect example. This is a rug pull. You put in $4.4 billion of US investors' money through the New York Stock Exchange in a Chinese company. Then China decides no mas 2 days after the IPO, and basically everybody loses a big chunk of their money. That can happen again and again and again, and actually it can get worse. And I think Gary Gensler is definitely doing the right thing, but I think this is just the beginning. Essentially, the SEC just came out and said, hey, until we figure out what the hell is going on here, nobody's IPOing out of China in any US stock exchange. This is a huge thing because it essentially says that these guys are guilty until proven innocent, which is exactly what I've been saying about Chinese stock. And obviously, I'm not the only one who's thinking that. Cathie Wood has just eliminated her entire Chinese portfolio for similar reasons, I would assume. Very dangerous, very risky, probably a good time to stay away from. I mean, now we have this whole structure being attacked from both sides. The SEC have now banned IPOs. What will they do with the existing companies? Obviously, they're not going to be sitting saying, well, I know we just banned all Chinese companies from going public, but we're not going to review the existing structures. Come on, think about it. Both of these countries are not going at these structures. Is that really a good time to get into Chinese companies? Well, if you're a gambler and you think that this is going to blow over, you might make a lot of money. But I don't invest based on gambling. I invest based on risk management. And this risk is way too much for me. But again, I'm not a financial advisor. I'm just a guy on the internet sharing his opinion, which might be inaccurate, might be wrong, might be the ramblings of a madman. You have to do your own research, blah, blah, mother effing blah. Now, I appreciate you joining me for this. I think this is only heating up. I think it's going to be a massive story to come. I've been saying this for months, and every little thing that falls into place just proves that I was right. Now, I know a lot of you still love your Chinese stock, and that's fine. I'm even going to be excited if you make some money. But for me, I'm out.